So now looking at the upper body here, I think my orc has more of a heavyweight bodybuilder type of body. What I really want from this orc's body is to be more out of this world. So something that you can't really see in the real world. I want him to be big, but bigger than a heavyweight bodybuilder. And so this is what I'm going to be doing for this part of the video. I'm just going to go ahead and bulk him up even more. I'm going to go to sculpt mode. And I'm going to go use my grab brush to make the back wider. I'm going to be just generally overall make him look more broader, make him bigger. I'm going to use a variety of the sculpting tools here, mainly using the grab brush and the inflate brush, and then going back to the, I'm going to go back to the clay brush too and the draw brush. But yeah, right now he's more like he's not an average male body, but you know, it's still something that you would see in one of those bodybuilding show, but it's not really what I'm going for. So it's okay to just have a little bit of basic anatomy at the beginning, but if you're trying to do an orc, if you look at all the movies that are games that have orcs in it, they're really, really huge. And here I'm just gonna go inflate the arm, the forearm. And then onto the ab area and the lats. And I'm gonna bulk up the chest also using the inflate brush, just make it a little bit bulkier there. And on the abs area here, I'm going to add a little bit more clay here to add a little bit more volume in his ab area. And looking at the arm, I think it needs to be a little bit shorter. So looking all around, thinking about what else I need to do here to bulk him up. I'm gonna have to move this up a bit. It's a little too long. And when we add the hands later, it's even gonna make it a little longer, the arm part. I'm gonna bulk this up so he has a little thicker wrist. Bulk up the side of his torso. Okay, so onto the object mode now. I think for this one, we could just scale this up. Scale it up. And onto the side view. I'm gonna move it back a little bit. Just a tad bit. I'm just going to use a move tool and just move this back. Onto back to the sculpt mode. Gonna go ahead and make his shoulder a little larger. And yeah, when you're doing a character like this, it's best to scale it up some more. Yeah, it's gonna have, if you look at the orc, you can see that they have a much smaller head compared to the body. Scale it up a bit more. Yeah, it's gonna be a big orc. I'm gonna move it back. As you scale this and adjust the size, you're gonna have to look at the side view and make sure that everything is still good from the side. Onto the top, making sure that everything is still on point, the anatomy. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to my box hide here and I'm gonna go ahead and hide the arms for now. I want to hide the arms because I want to adjust the side view of the torso, and I'm able to see the side view of the torso if the arms are hidden. And I'm just gonna bulk up the traps in the upper back. Yeah, when you are doing a really exaggerated bulky character like the Incredible Hulk or something like a huge orc like this, what you really need to think about is they do have really massive shoulder, and the back is also massive. The traps area is going to be right here. The traps here is going to have to be extremely large. So the traps, the trapezius, and the upper back are going to be one of the really main things that are going to have to be enlarged when you're doing an exaggerated character like the Incredible Hulk, or yeah, like this orc. And back here, I'm looking at the actual render, and I'm going to add an area light right now so we could see a little better what we're working with. So yeah, right now I am on my render preview, and just create a light in your scene there and adjust the light so that you can see exactly what you have so far. So if you need to make more adjustment, you could see what you need to modify as regards to your sculpt. And of course, we gotta crank up the power for the light so we can see more of the character. And just gonna move it. So when you're adding the light, you could also increase the size so to make the edges of the light softer. And another thing that you need to understand when you're creating a light is you need to make sure when you're adding a light that you don't put the light right in front of the character. You have to make sure that when you're creating the light, you create it more at an angle, pointing at the character, because if you make it right dead on the spot at the center, it's just gonna make your character look flat. All right, so never put the light at the center and then right in the middle, and yeah, it's not gonna look good. All right, so I think he is looking much better, a lot bulkier than like what I want. Probably could be a little bit bulkier though. Definitely gonna have to exaggerate more in some parts here. So now I'm hidden the hair, that way I could better see the trapezius and the shoulder area. And I think this is just a little bit too much. So using the grab brush to tone it down a bit. So the shoulder area, if you look at the shoulder here, we're trying to get more of it looks more like a rainbow type of shoulder where it's really round and bulky. And you need to probably move it down because once you adjust your character body, you're gonna see that the head might be a little too close to the chest, and so definitely relocate your torso if you need to. Yeah, when you're doing a big character like this, mainly the biggest parts are gonna be the upper part of the body, where you're gonna have really big deltoid. When you do an exaggerated character, you're gonna have really big deltoid and really big shoulder, and then you're gonna have like a little bit of like slim waist, and then yeah, you got the stocky arms there. So this is if you're doing an exaggerated character, something that you don't see in the real world. And onto the sculpt mode. So it's definitely looking a little tougher now. Show my hair again. And onto the sculpt mode for the hair. You can see it needs some adjustment because the hair is inside the geometry of the body. I'm gonna rename my torso here. Hide the body there and go to my sculpt mode for my hair and kind of adjust this, masking this part out where it's being hidden by the geometry of the body. And I'm just gonna use my grab brush to just kind of pull this out. Pull that out. Yep. Using my grab brush. I think I have masked that bottom part. Okay, so there you go. And show the body again and just kind of move it down. There you go. So I want to kind of lay on the body there. Okay, back on the upper body for the torso here. I'm gonna bulk up his chest. And back onto my solid shading without the shadows. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and pull this down a bit. I think he looks a little too hunched on the upper torso. Gonna readjust this. There you go. Gonna move everything down a bit around the top part and then bulk up the arm a little bit. You can see how small his head is. Right now we are on the neck area and just gonna bulk up the neck because we have bulked up the entire body, and we could add a little bit more of the shape here for the neck to kind of blend it a little bit more with the upper body. We're going to be fusing these together later on. But right now it's best to still look at your head area and your neck area, making sure that it's still in sync with the body, complements the body. Okay, great. And show the hair again. And onto the ponytail area. Gonna pull this back so it's not sinking in onto the body. And same for this part of the hair here, it's sinking in onto the body. Gonna go ahead and mask this area out and invert it. I'm just gonna move it without moving the other parts of the hair. Yeah, you can see how big his traps are, his trapezius muscle. That's why I gotta lift up the hair a bit. And just kind of widen it up. And back onto the draw sharp to apply the subtle hair strands again. There you go. Once again, it's good to always look at the hair and readjust the hair as needed. That way, if you need to make adjustment to the body, you could do so. You could already see if the body's and the head all combined, if it's gonna match up the hair. And yeah, so that's the sole purpose of just having the placeholder there. Right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and move this down a bit. I think he looks like he's a little too hunched. The deltoid is way up. And so now I just gotta move it down a bit. There you go. Yes, he's starting to look a lot better. Later on, we're gonna be using Andrew Loomis' proportion guide, making sure that it still adhere to reality. Although this is not something that you'll see in the real world, we need to still look at the overall proportion, in which we will do later, all right? But still, while you're doing this, think of the anatomy, and it needs to make sure everything is still there. Focus on getting the muscle construction as accurately as possible. And here, just gonna try and give him more of that V shape. Back to object mode and onto the render area. Looking good. Maybe around here he needs to be more tapered. Yes, you can see there, I really like to make this slim. So we got like really huge part here at the top, and then it gets slimmer on here. Yeah, characters like this were characters that you see in Street Fighter, if you guys remember Zangief. Or even large, firm characters like Ryu. Even Ryu is not something that you would see, or Ken from Street Fighter. You don't really see those type of guys. Even the bodybuilder cannot get that big. So those are the type of characters that are really exaggerated, and they are more measure up to the 8 heads proportion, where they're really tall and large. And this is more like more on the orc spectrum, deviating from the standard.